Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to go over Sunday's playlist, right? Discuss SPY, discuss the market, and see potential plays, that could yield profitability next week. All right, let's get started. As usual, let's go over SPY, let's go over all the scenarios that are possible, right? And then we can discuss the plays and I'll give you my thoughts. So obviously there are bull and bear counts for every chart, right? And right now, this green count I have for SPY is the bull count. Obviously, it's not my preferred one and the one I don't think that is likely, but I have to show you it anyway. So we'll just get started with the bear bull count and then get to the better parts, because obviously I think bear counts are better. But yeah, so this implies that SPY, right, at 460, 489. This is where it's bottomed. Obviously, futures are green, but Sunday night futures usually don't imply much. Kind of have to see how the day progresses. But yeah, if we break over 470 or 470, let's just say 473, 474 in the next first 2 days, because generally wave 3 is really bullish, right? If this is the start of a wave 3, then the market likely is green the whole week. Like you're gonna have ripping and ripping days, right? I'm gonna show you the bear count as well, in which we are gonna bounce whether we're bull or bear in the next 2 days. So I'm not surprised at all that the futures are green, but I want to, kind of give you my thoughts in regards to how some of the main stocks of the market look. But anyway, this is the bull count, right? 1, 2. If this is a wave 3, then SPY is absolutely, gonna rip at least to 500 in this count, in which case, obviously, the bulls are gonna have a good time. So this is obviously the bull count. When it finishes the SPY, obviously, it's gonna have an ABC correction all the way back to 400. So there, the bears are gonna have fun, even if this bull count plays out. But this is the most immediate bull count, right? I just wanted to show you the bull. And now let's discuss the bear counts, right? The bigger bear count chart, right? Obviously, it looks like this. If you've been, attending the classes that I have, on Discord, you have seen this chart a lot, and you can see that it has been playing out really well for the past 2 weeks, and we did not get stuck in this bloodshed. So that's good. Bigger picture, I do, still expect us to come test 400. In the bear count, on a smaller picture, you can see that I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 waves to the downside, right? In which case, like I mentioned, us bouncing, not a surprise at all. I could certainly see us going to 470 if that breaks 474, right? Before we come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can totally see us bouncing early in the week. So I'm not surprised that all the futures are green, but even the bear and bull count, you can see in both cases, SPY is likely to, have a bounce before it goes to the downside. Another scenario is it's bouncing for the wave 4 right before it comes down for the wave 5. So if it rejects at 470, you can definitely expect something like this as well. So those are all the different probabilities in the market. I just, wanted to touch upon it and, kind of discuss it before we discuss all the other stocks. Something else I wanted to point out was, let's look at all the weekly, look at the weekly candles for, Apple, Amazon, Google, AMD, NVIDIA, semis usually lead the market. So the reason I'm doing this is you can see that we've not had a weekly breakdown in this for almost, last time it broke down was like the Feb crash, right? You can see every time the weekly candles have managed to hold the EMAs, right? And probably in Feb 21 too, we did break down and it was almost 18% correction, when it broke the CMA. And you can see that this time, right? I'd say this situation we're in is very familiar to, how it was in like March 2017, because you can see we made a high, we consolidated when we started breaking down, and after it broke down, it sold off another 30 more percent. So if you were to use the same calculation, 30% would put us, around 90, which is honestly where my chart takes us. If I, do this, you can see I have AMD going back all the way to 82, which would represent almost a 30-40% correction. Obviously, it's going to take a few months to play out, but bigger picture, that's kind of what I'm watching, right? And obviously, it's not going to go straight down, right? It is going to bounce, come down, bounce, down, and come down like that. So this is just one stock, right? You can see the same for NVIDIA. It made a lower high, and it's, you can see it tried to make a lower high, couldn't break over previous high, and has started to sell off. Bigger picture, I have the same thing, right? I have NVIDIA correcting all the way to like 160-ish. So that is a pretty sizable drop, right? 38%. So that's mainly because you can see, right, the weekly candles do support my thesis. You can see it came down, tried to consolidate, couldn't get over the high, and it's selling off again. That doesn't mean I don't think it's going to bounce, right? Everything, it's going to go up and down. You can see same for NVIDIA here. I do think, it's going to bounce for a wave two. The same thing I have for SPY, right? Before it comes down for a bigger 3, 4, 5. So that matches it. Again, if this was a wave four and we sell off further, it's just, going to come down for a wave five before it bounces for a wave two, before a 3, 4, 5. So in both cases, a bounce is likely to happen pretty soon, but I do think the bounces are going to get shorted. So bigger picture, that's kind of what I'm watching. I just wanted to show you the weekly candles on most charts. They're telling a story, right? So when the weekly candles are showing, the kind of bearish momentum, you can't disagree with it, right? Even Apple, right, it's the main indicator, has a large weighting on SPY. You can see that this 170 to 180 area is where there's been a lot of friction for it. Like it went over, came down here again, put in a candle, again, couldn't get over high, had a massive outside bar weekly candle. So the minute Apple breaks at 168.90, then it's going to sell off, right? Bigger picture, you can see I have 5 waves to the upside on Apple. Obviously, let me go to a lower time frame, the 30-minute chart. You can see that same thing here. I have 5 waves counted. I obviously think it's gonna bounce, right? But the same thing can be true. 4 waves come down again before it bounces. So same thing, right? In most charts, it's showing me the same indication that we are gonna bounce, but the bounce is going to get shorted. So you have to be really careful with your timing if you're trying to short these stocks, or if you're long, you need to honestly really monitor the levels, because like I mentioned, if Apple breaks 169, 168.8, then it is going to come crashing down. So be careful. Let's look at Amazon weekly, all the main fangs and stocks like that. Let's look at this. You can see the same for Amazon. Amazon, it is more prevalent, right? You can see it finally broke down from this EMA. Amazon definitely had one of the biggest breakdowns. I feel like as long as Amazon stays below 3,300, it's a prime short. I have Amazon. You can see if I remove this, I have Amazon definitely coming back to like 2780, and you can see it's not broken these EMAs, and it finally broke its EMA cloud on the weekly chart. So this is on the longer time frame. Most of these big stocks, right, they're showing prominent breakdowns, and same for Tesla, right? It didn't even make a new high, rejected at the previous high, had a massive outside bar. So any bounce should be taken with caution and could easily get shorted down. So I just wanted to, go through all the weekly charts to, kind of make you guys understand that bigger picture. Even Google is breaking down, Apple's breaking down, Microsoft is breaking down, NVIDIA is breaking down. So all these stocks that held up the market, if they are breaking down, then you're kind of in for some bad times. So that's just something I wanted to bring to your attention. Bigger picture, I do think it is going to bounce before it comes down lower. So just be careful if you are trading this market, because it's going to get really tricky. And if it's going to be bloody, the trick is to short the bounces and sell the dips, not hold through the bounce, right? Sell the dips and reshort the bounces. All right, I just wanted to go through all of this, right, before we go through the weekly playlist. So let's get started. Every week on Sunday, I post on the Discord a list of potential plays that I think could be good. All right, let's go through last week's playlist and see how it did, honestly. Let's look at last week's playlist, right? We said Mara puts below 32.4, calls over 36. I said they're both equally likely to happen, so wait for the trigger. Right, let's go back and see what happened to Mara. So the minute, right, what was my trigger for puts? It was 32.4. You can see, right, where's 32.4, guys? You can see the minute we broke 32.4 here, you can see this is where it broke, right? Retested, it died all the way to 27, right? So if you had taken puts, this is a nice 15% return, right? Once it triggered. So this is what I mean, wait for the trigger, because once it triggers, it's likely to retest and have a massive sell-off. So 15% is a nice move, right, for a play. So that was Mara. Affirm, again, I said calls over 106, puts below 96, because both bull and bear were equally likely. And Affirm, I remember it triggered the bear at 96, and let's see what happened, right? The minute Affirm triggered 96, you can see what happened. Same as Mara, right? It just had an intense sell-off, to the downside, a nice 23% it dropped for puts. So you would have made a lot of money if you actually took these plays, right? Again, DDOG puts below 176. Let's see what happened to DDOG. Right, it broke 176 over here. The reason we took this play is I showed you guys this wedge in last Sunday's video, and the minute it broke down, it died again, a nice 20%. Honestly, last week's playlist was an absolute banger. I can't promise that it's going to be that good every year, right? Sometimes it takes times for the waves to play out, but I will try my best to keep giving you these banger plays. Novavax, again, puts below 140, right? What happened to Novavax the minute it broke 140? I think this is where we were. You can see that Novavax sold, okay, that's 150, my bad. Let's go to 140. Where was, yeah. The minute Novavax broke 140, again, a nice 18% move to the downside. So that's 4 for 4 right now. Let's see what happened to KVEB. I'm pretty sure KVEB did not play out. I'm sorry. I was kind of hoping for it. So what I was looking for is for it to come down all the way to 34 and then have a bounce, but it made a new low before it bounced. So technically my chart didn't play out, but idea was the same. But something I wanted to talk about as well for this week is I really think China plays are gonna bounce, because let's go back to the Discord, right? If you're in the premium, you have access to all these charts. You can see that I do, right? I have a BABA, I have it bouncing to the upside. PDD, another China stock that looks ready for a B-wave bounce. Baidu, another B-wave bounce to the upside. So in all of those, you can see that the major theme is, I think US stocks are going to sell off, and I think these China plays that are undervalued are going to bounce. So in which case, I do think this KVEB, right? This was a 345. If I go to the 4-hour chart, you guys can see that I have it bouncing for a wave B. So that matches with all my individual China stocks where I think it's going to play. So keep your eye, right? And it also looks, right, watch for this channel. If KVEB breaks over 37, then it can move to the upside. And it's a kind of an indication that most China plays are going to bounce. So if you're a bull who doesn't know how to, kind of play the short side, then you can, kind of long the China plays. So that's something I wanted to discuss as well. So, okay, let's go back to Wolf's Den, right? Again, I had Lucid puts below 36.6. How did Lucid do? Let's see how it did last week. So as soon as it broke 36.6, it died like 8% before it had a bounce. I'm not surprised because I was just looking for a wave 5. Obviously, this I had the more bearish count. It didn't play out, but I was equally prepared, for this to wick and come back up. Maybe I kind of should have been more clear on that, but if you were in the Discord, I told most people to take profits, so you should have been fine. So Lucid, I could see it does have room a little more. If 42 breaks, then I can definitely see it move to 45, 47, but after that, around this area, I'd look to short it again. But bigger picture, it did work for some time, but obviously it had a quick reversal, so I'm not going to really consider it a W, but yeah, for next time, at least I'll know how to do it better. All right, let's look at LVS. I was honestly just looking. LVS, I mentioned it as, it can, likely chop around here before it breaks down. So I'm not surprised at all. Bigger picture, I do still expect it to go a little to the upside before it comes back down. But I want to show you the daily chart. You should keep this on your watch list, because once LVS is done chopping and it breaks 34, it is going to have a massive sell-off, because you can see this has been a channel for almost 10 years. So when a 10-year channel breaks, it's definitely going to have a massive sell-off. So my main point for LVS was just to, kind of bring it on your watch list. I don't really think it was going to break down. So I just wanted to mention it in case you guys were, looking for a place in the future. My trigger is below 34.6 on LVS. SE, obviously it had got a downgrade. 210 area didn't hold, so it definitely sold off to 187 as soon as it gapped down, right? I told you if it were to break this 200 low, it's going to sell off further, which it did. So SE, I still have it bouncing for a wave B soon, but I'd be careful till SE breaks over 198. I wouldn't touch it, right? If it breaks over 198, then obviously can fill this 220 gap and has room to 259. So wait for confirmation if you're looking for SE. So that's last week's playlist, right? We had, out of 8 plays, we had 6 of them that were absolute bangers. So I'm going to tell myself, good job. So let's go through this week's play. Again, I can't promise you it's going to be just as banging as last week, but let's go through them. And I want to, kind of give you my thoughts behind it. Billy, I mentioned KVEB, right? I mentioned how I expect China plays to kind of take off. So that's the main reason why I have Billy on the watch list. And another important reason why I have Billy on here is because it had an inside day, right? What do we know about inside days? Volatility is constrained, as a result of which it's likely to, kind of make bigger moves when it is, when it does break the range of the inside day. So you can see the range is like 30, 38, 39.82. So that's the reason why I rounded off and said Billy calls over 40. That will break the range of this inside day. And it does have a gap to fill to 44. So, and I have it in a wave beat to the upside. So those are all the reasons I kind of have Billy on the watch list. And I kind of wanted to, bring it to your attention and why I think, it could bounce with all the rest of the China plays. I liked it better than Baba. I still really like Baba and PDD as well, but this had an inside day compared to the other two. So it's more likely to make a move. So that's the reasoning behind Billy. Let's look at AMD. Okay, let's look at AMD. So the reasoning for AMD is I want you guys to wait for the bounce, right? I mentioned futures were green, and I'm not surprised because I have us bouncing for the wave 4. So I want you guys to wait, right? I want you guys to wait till AMD tests this volume shelf, right? When it tests it, watch to see if it rejects. If it rejects, then as I mentioned, AMD was breaking down on the weekly chart. It's likely to, have at least a sizable move to the downside, like a 10% move to the downside before it bounces, before it comes down again, right? So this is kind of what I'm looking to, buy puts on the bounce if it rejects, this 137, 138 area on the volume shelf. And when it rejects, once you get confirmation, then you can buy puts to the downside. So that's mainly, kind of what I'm targeting, because as I mentioned, all the weekly charts look really bearish. Any bounce likely gets shorted. So that's just, a potential scenario that I'm trying to see play out on AMD. So that's the reason, I kind of had AMD on here. Let's look at Dash, right? This is another stock. Again, if I have the market going down, you have to be really careful with trying to play these bounces, right? I just wanted to mention that because it does have a high chance to fail if you're going against the trend. So, take it with caution. But the reason I have Dash calls is you guys see these wicks? Every time Dash is wicked into the 127 to 130 area, you can see that it's gotten bottomed up. And last week it wicked here and it bounced, right, guys? So that's the reason I really like Dash. It's because it is in a demand zone. It also had an inside day, same as Billy, which is the reason I have calls for it, right? The minute it breaks over this, they have 138.4. Yeah, the minute it breaks over this inside day range, I think Dash, likely it has a gap to fill at 145. So that's why I think Dash is going to bounce, along with the fact that it is on a demand zone. But I am bearish on the market, but I do have it bouncing. So maybe Dash, lines up this bounce when SPY goes up for the wave 2 before it dies for the wave 3. So that's the reason I had Dash calls, right? The next one is Facebook. Let's discuss why I have Facebook puts, right? So do you guys see this? This kind of wedge is called the expanding wedge, right? Every time it hits the top of this, comes down to the bottom. Top of this comes back to the bottom. Top of this, again, had a massive sell-off. This is where I got rid of most of my puts, right? So here's the thing with Facebook, right? If the market is going to bounce, something that you have to keep in mind is that it could do something like this, right? Obviously, wave 2 could have ended here. And if Facebook breaks at 326, that would be a confirmation this was wave 2. But the other thing to keep in mind is this could have been your A, your B, and Facebook could bounce, all the way to 343. And then do you guys see this head and shoulders pattern? It can definitely, play out this head and shoulders pattern all the way to 343 before it has this massive sell-off to the bottom of the wedge. Obviously, in 4 or 5 weeks, that's my timeline for Facebook. Not 4 or 5, I'd say at least 6 weeks to come all the way to 280. But if Facebook gets, anywhere close to 343, 344, I'm going to reshort it again, right? Or if it breaks 326, that's again a good entry for Facebook. On here, I obviously said 328.71. That's a good entry too. Or I'll put, I'll edit it or bounce to 343 where you can buy puts, right? Either case, either it breaks 328 or, it bounces before it goes lower. So that's what I have for Facebook and kind of what I'm looking for. Let's look at MRNA. MRNA, big picture, I am bearish on it, right? There's no doubt about that. So for me personally, I'm waiting for it to break, 211, 210. If it breaks that, I think, it's in a wave 3. So I think it continues selling off. But bigger picture, if you have 2 months of time, 170 and 120, I'd say by March 2022 is kind of my target. So on any bounce, MRNA is a good short. Same with Novavax and Pfizer. I think all these vaccine plays, every bounce is going to get shorted. I've said the same thing for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks it's been, working up. So that's the reason I like vaccine shorts. I still think any bounce, right? It's a good short to pick up on. Okay, so let's discuss PayPal after this. So PayPal, both bull and bear. For the others, for me, it's more clear as to what may happen, right? But for PayPal, I have to lean towards it having both a bull and bear case, just because of the way it's just the way it looks. So you can see that it is in this wedge, right? So wait, right? Both bull and bear obviously have the bull count on here, where if PayPal were to break 193.94, then I have it, going to 212 and potentially filling this gap at 224. That's the bull count. Obviously the bear is if PayPal, breaks this low 183, then you can see it, sell off to the next level of support, which is, I'd say, 150. Do you guys see this volume shelf? It probably comes down to 150. So those are your bull and bear case for PayPal. If it breaks 180, 193.94, likely heads to 200 plus, right? But if it breaks 183, likely goes to like 160, low 160. So both bull and bear, I feel like PayPal has been in a tight range. So whichever way it breaks, it's likely to give you a sizable move. So that's what I have for PayPal. Let's look at Palantir, which is the next one. So Palantir, I have been bearish from $28, and my chart has played out like a charm. So now this is where I'm kind of looking for the bounce play, right? If Palantir can break over 17.25, then it has room to $19, right? Or if it breaks the low of 16, then I see it going to 15 before it bounces for a wave 4. So either wave 3 ended here, guys, and it bounces to 19, right? Confirmation would be break of 17.3. Or wave 3 comes down all the way to $15 before Palantir before it bounces to 19. Either way, I am looking for Palantir to bounce for a wave 3, right? Wait for confirmation, but again, I don't think this is the start of a new trend upwards. A closer to 19.20 it gets, I think it's going to get shorted back to 12 and $9 before it resumes a new trend. Just short-term bullish. All right, that's kind of what I had for Palantir. The last one is Uber. Let's see what I have for Uber. Right, Uber, clearly I have, what is this, 30-minute chart. So on the 30-minute chart, it's pretty obvious that you can count 5 waves, right? This is your 1, this is your 3, this is your 5, right? It came down for an A, it bounced for a B, and obviously it's coming down for a C, right? And C wave targets are $40 and 38.2. So that's precisely what I had mentioned here, right? When Uber breaks 41.2, which is this low, the next target is 40 and 38.2 if that doesn't hold. It matches with a simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and ABC correction, which is what I had for Uber. All right, guys, so those were the 8 plays I have for this week. And I just wanted to give my thoughts and discuss it. All right, thank you so much. And I'll see you next Sunday.